This is the Carl DeMaio Show. We're giving you the story behind the story, and we're leading the fight to take back our state for a better California. Welcome to our latest installment of the show. Let's get right into the topic of mass shootings. It's something that people unfortunately are seeing all too often these days. You get these crazed, mentally deranged individuals who decide that they want notoriety. They want to go out with a bang. And what they're doing is they're selecting soft targets, churches, schools, movie theaters, soft targets. And I think their decision of the places that they go is by design. They know that they will likely, because those are gun-free zones, they will likely not face very much resistance. And as a result, they can carry out their evil act and inflict the most pain and suffering. They can do the most damage. Think about this. How many police stations have you seen being targeted by these lunatics, these mentally deranged individuals for a mass shooting? None. I mean, none that I can think of. The reason why these lunatics and evildoers do not target a police station is obvious. They know that they're going to be taken out. They won't be able to do the damage that they're trying to do. And so I want to cool the partisan rhetoric here, the partisan animosity. The media and the left seem to take the point of view that only they want to save lives. Have you seen it? Whenever these mass shootings come out, you see the left indignant. How dare the Republicans not join us in sensible gun control? We've got to get these guns out of the hands of people because they're dangerous. Okay, you know what I mean. And you hear accusations like the blood of these victims is on the hands of the president and the Republicans and Mitch McConnell and Mother Goose. I mean, believe me, they would blame Mother Goose if they thought they could get a partisan advantage. I think no matter where you fall on the spectrum of the Second Amendment or your views on mass shootings and how to address them, to suggest that anyone in this country actually wants to see people killed is outrageous, and it has no place in our political discourse. And I hope you would agree with my criticism of the current tone and tenor of the debate when it comes to mass shootings and what to do about them. So let me start with that premise. If you are reasonable, if you are not some rabidly partisan individual, can we accept and grant the notion that we enter this conversation wanting to save lives? Can we start there? Can we all agree that that's kind of the goal? Okay, great. So if we are able to start from that standpoint, then when people are making proposals, let's assume they're doing so from that grounded goal and with the best intentions. And now let's look at data. Let's look at what the data suggests is the right way to handle mass shootings. And so I want to start out with data, put things in perspective. Mass shootings are actually not the biggest percentage of gun violence in this country. And that surprises people because most of the coverage of anything relating to a gun has to deal with the mass shooting or has to do with an officer-related shooting, which when you take a look at those two categories of fatalities and injuries, we're talking about less than 3% of cases of gun violence. The vast majority of cases of gun violence has to do with suicide, self-inflicted wounds. And the question becomes, if someone is using a gun to commit suicide and they don't have a gun, you don't think that they can find some other mechanism? I mean, if someone is really that depressed, there are a number of different avenues for them to pursue. So of the 30,000 plus fatalities each year from gun, quote, violence, most of them are self-inflicted. Only about 11,000 of the cases are related to gun-involved homicides. And those 11,000 cases, the vast majority involve a handgun. In fact, only 2% of cases involve what they would call a, quote, assault rifle, assault weapon. 2%. 65% involve documented handguns, and then an additional 30% are either rifles or unknown, which, again, if it's an assault rifle, I will tell you right now, they know what it is. So unknown means the government agency did not track that data. The vast majority of issues relate to handguns. And so when you hear people on the left saying, oh, no, we're not talking handguns. We're talking about those really scary AR weapons, those assault weapons. Hold on. An AR is not an assault weapon. So first get your terminology straight. They're not actually addressing the main problem that they say they want to solve. So the first thing is start with the data and then compare the data to what people are saying we should be doing, which is we need to do a ban on assault weapons because assault weapons sound scary. Now, that's I think why they're suggesting assault weapons, because the average listener who doesn't understand, there's no real definition of assault weapon, and so therefore they're saying let's ban something that doesn't have a definition, which then means, well, then government can interpret the ban any which way they want. What they are really trying to do is use language to convince you that their proposal is good rather than precision and data based on the problem. In fact, we did have a federal assault weapon ban for 10 years in this country. It expired in 2004. But when the Department of Justice went back and looked at the impact of the federal assault weapon ban, there was no discernible change in the use of assault weapons in crime. None whatsoever. And yet, what do we hear from the left? We hear, well, that's what no pun, the silver bullet for this problem is that we got to get rid of all the assault weapons. We've done that, and it did not have an impact. Now, let me also point out, while there were about 11,000 gun homicides last year out of the 30,000 plus instances of gun violence, the research shows that there were about 65,000 cases where an individual fended off an attacker with a gun. Let me repeat that. While there were 11,000 plus gun-related homicides last year, there were 65,000 gun-related defense actions taken. In other words, 65,000 lives potentially saved. We don't hear that side of the debate. No, we are always looking at the unfortunate fatality, the inappropriate, illegal use of a gun by an evil person and deranged individual. And that leads me to the other point. Why are we fixating on the vehicle? Why are we fixated on the tool when perhaps we should be fixated on the act, the individual? We have a crisis in this country. We have individuals who are mentally unstable. For whatever reason, we're not getting them identified quick enough. We're not getting them the help they need, or frankly, containing them quick enough. And to suggest that we go after the real root problem, which is mental health, and identifying early warning signs of deranged individuals, that's not easy. But it is, I would argue, the most effective way to reduce these evil acts. Go after the root cause, the person actually carrying out the act. They'll find a tool. You can ban everything you can possibly ban. They will find a tool. But Carl, what if we ban it? It would make it harder for them to do something. Now, they'll figure out a way to hurt people. They're motivated enough to give up their life, to go out in a blaze of glory. They will find a tool of destruction. If you take a look across the pond in the United Kingdom, by the way, their gun ban has resulted in an epidemic of knife violence. Just Google knife crime UK or knife crime London, and you'll see just amazing stories where now they're saying that they want to put tracking devices on knives. Oh, yeah. It's just absurd. So it doesn't matter what you ban. If we don't get to the root cause, which is evil people do evil things, and there's no magic wand for preventing that, there are ways to mitigate risks, to identify, to try to treat. Unless we focus on the root cause, none of this is going to go away. And one side screaming and yelling that we ought to give up our constitutional freedom of self-defense, the Second Amendment, either they're ignorant on the facts or they are politically motivated to use the issue to gain power. I've long been proud of my association with the San Diego County gun owners. It's a great group here in Southern California. They're actually expanding to other parts of the state, Orange County, Riverside. Their president, Michael Schwartz, has been on the show a number of times. Anytime we want to talk about the Second Amendment, he comes on. He's a great defender and fighter for freedom. He joined me recently on at the Glock store in San Diego as I released my Second Amendment protection plan. And it really is my proposal to try to address mass shootings and gun violence in this country. It's called the Let's Roll Act. Let's Roll Act. And I'll tell you why I called it that in a minute for those of you who may not automatically understand the title there. And really, what I'm trying to do is give people on the right, people who care about the Second Amendment, something sensible that they can offer. Because right now the left gets out there and says, oh, another mass shooting, we ought to get rid of the Second Amendment. Or we ought to ban this, that, or other thing. But I don't mean handguns, even though that's, if you want to really deal with violence, data shows it's mainly handguns. I want to give the right something specific and effective to deal with mass shootings. And so that's this program. It's a 5-point plan, and it's grounded in my belief that the only way to stop an evil and deranged individual with a weapon is to empower a hero with the training and tools necessary to take them out. Let me repeat that. The only way to stop an evil and deranged individual with a weapon is to empower a hero with the training and the tools to take them out, to protect lives. I actually believe that the Second Amendment is not the problem. It's actually the solution for improving safety and security in our country. So here are the 5 parts of the Let's Roll Act. And this is legislation that I commit to introducing in Congress and trying to pass. Number 1, mandatory self-defense curriculum in every classroom. Oh yeah, if the left is mandating ethnic studies in every classroom or sex education, then we should have mandatory self-defense curriculum in every classroom. Appropriate, age appropriate, of course. It should be unbiased. It should be accurate curriculum, and it should focus on what your Second Amendment rights are and what is behind the concept of a human right of self-defense. That every human being has a right of religion, of free speech, of assembly. They have the right also of self-defense. Students would also be given instruction on what to do in a shooting or a terrorist attack. In the Cold War era, we told them what to do if there was a nuclear attack. We should be talking about what to do in a mass shooting and give them tips on how to be more situationally aware. You can't just say, if you see something, say something. There are things that we can cover in class that they could improve upon. We should also make available common sense self-defense classes. You'd be surprised at the number of kids that might find this enjoyable, and it might come in handy. Students would also hear stories about heroes who courageously fought back against evil and deranged attackers and saved lives. I want to celebrate the heroes. I want people to know their names and what they did, how they sacrificed to save the lives of others, because that will inspire our children, our students, to grow up and consider being a hero in a time of need. So mandatory self-defense curriculum is number 1. Number 2, National Concealed Carry Permit Program. This is where we would get a solution to what we're seeing right now. All the states in this country have different rules and regulations for concealed carry permits. This is where you can take a firearm out in public concealed. And in California, it's darn near impossible to get a concealed carry permit, depending upon which county you live in. And most states don't have effective reciprocity rules. And so I would create a national concealed carry permit program. It would be modeled after the existing Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, It would allow individuals who undergo background checks and have proper training to carry a concealed weapon, and that permit would be honored in every state. This way, we have our heroes with the right tool in their possession if a mass shooter tries to attack the place where they are at. Third, we do need to improve background checks. The NICS system has a number of flaws. This is the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS. It's a federal database that's used for background checks. I want to make sure that every state has accurate, updated, correct information in that database. And the door swings both ways here. Sometimes the information is wrong and someone is deprived of their Second Amendment rights. So I want accurate information. Third, School Safety Reserve Corps. I want to fund training, equipment, and background checks for schools that would like to have a retired military or law enforcement personnel on site to volunteer to guard the school. And fifth, the American Hero Reward Program. This is a reward, a cash reward for any individual who courageously takes down a mass shooter or the family of any individual who gives their life to take down a mass shooter. Those are the 5 things. Mandatory self-defense curriculum in schools, a national concealed carry permit program, improved background checks, a school safety reserve corps program, and an American Hero Reward program. If you're going to improve safety and the response to mass shootings, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to make sure we have heroes who fight back when a deranged lunatic tries to inflict pain on others. Again, if I had a magic wand and I could end murders in this country and attacks in this country, I would certainly use it. But let's be completely honest and blunt. There's no magic wand. Sometimes the most horrific tragedies require solutions that are complex, long-term, imperfect. But the Second Amendment, my friends, is not the problem. It is the solution. Now, coming up, I'm going to share a conversation I had with Michael Schwartz, San Diego County gun owners, when he joined me when we rolled this plan out. He'll offer some of his thoughts about what we need to do to defend the Second Amendment. It's on the Carl DeMaio Show, but first, these messages.
Carl DeMaio here. From rating our road improvement funds for bus and bike lanes to gas taxes and congestion taxes, politicians keep making it harder to drive. Traffic will only get worse unless we demand change. Join me, Carl DeMaio, by signing the petition at fixsandiegoroads.org.
Carl DeMaio thinks it's time to clean up the mess in Congress and take a new approach to solving problems. That's why Carl DeMaio is proposing the Fix Congress First plan. Make Congress live under the same laws the rest of us do. No special exemptions. Eliminate lavish congressional pensions and other perks. Force Congress to open up its own books and records to public review. Make Congress read the bills first before they vote on them. No budget, no pay. Permanently take away Congress's pay for every day the budget is late. If we want better results from Washington, we need to start by fixing Congress first. That's why it's time to help Carl DeMaio get his Fix Congress First plan enacted. Sign Carl's petition and help fix Congress first.
You're listening to the Carl DeMaio Show, and please do us a favor. Let people know about the show. We're not on 3 to 6 on News Radio 600 Kogo anymore, the broadcast signal, which was always the easiest way to get us. Because of my candidacy for Congress, we have to do the podcast, and people have to come find us. So please share with your friends that they can get our episodes on demand on their podcast network of choice. Just look for the Carl DeMaio Show. They can subscribe, and that way they get notified when new episodes come available. Or they can just go online to DeMaioShow.com or the carldemaio.com website. We list the podcast page is actually up there. So please help us spread the word. Let's get this information out to as many people as possible. And by the way, please help us with the campaign. If you haven't contributed yet, every contribution is important, even $5. You can do that all online at carldemaio.com. We're talking about the Second Amendment and what to do effectively to respond to mass shootings and gun violence. The left seems to scream and yell about get rid of the guns, which I actually believe would be the worst thing if you want to protect lives. Again, I go back to the stat I shared at the beginning of the show. 65,000 people plus last year used a firearm to defend themselves from an attacker in a crime. 65,000. And you can compare that to 11,000 plus who were killed in gun homicides. And by the way, the 65,000 number is probably low because when someone dies, there is actually a death certificate and there's a cause of death. Not all people report when they're attacked or how they fended off an attacker. And so I believe that tools like a firearm can be incredibly important to saving lives and defending against attacks. Now, I caught up recently with Michael Schwartz, the president of San Diego County Gun Owners, for a conversation about how we can fight to preserve Second Amendment rights. Here's what he had to say. We're here at the Glock store in Kearney Mesa, and we are about to have the event where I'm rolling out my Let's Roll plan, and I'm joined by the president of San Diego County Gun Owners, Michael Schwartz. He's been on the show a number of times when we were on terrestrial radio. Michael, thanks for stopping by. And first and foremost, what do you think about the plan, the Let's Roll plan that we're releasing?
I think it's outstanding. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's right in line with what gun owners and gun organizations and Second Amendment organizations have been talking about for a long time. But the most important part is when you're a Second Amendment advocate, it's hard to initiate. You know, it seems like we're constantly having to
play defense,
and fight back.
Because I think the people who are freedom lovers are always fighting the very aggressive and proactive agenda of the left. And what I want to do is reverse engineer things and start being proactive on the right and from a position of constitutional freedom.
Right. I say a lot that it's not so much that we have an agenda, it's that we're trying to stop other people's agenda. And this plan gives an agenda that we can support, that we can go around and get support for. And I really appreciate that part of it. But the specifics of the plan are outstanding as well.
So my goal is to lay out some bold ideas and see if we can get others to get on board. I got a phone call earlier today from Eric Early, who ran for California Attorney General. Mm-hmm. And he's big on the Second Amendment. He's now running against Congressman Adam Schiff, Pencilneck, the guy from the Intelligence Committee. He's running against Adam Schiff. And he said, do you mind if I endorse your plan? And I said, by all means, you can endorse this plan. And so, this is just someone who was on the email list and saw us release it. He's a congressional candidate. He's a lawyer. He's a former attorney general candidate. And, so I think that, again, this may actually become one of the things that most people on the right can point to saying, well, we have a plan to stop mass shootings. It's actually more of the Second Amendment, not less. So here in San Diego County, obviously, there are local issues that we're fighting to keep the gun show at Del Mar Fairgrounds, to make sure that we don't have these absurd city ordinances like the one that was just passed in San Diego, which, by the way, is unconstitutional to require that you lock up your firearm, in a Fort Knox type vault.
Right.
Do you feel like you're playing whack-a-mole sometimes with the crazies out here on these city councils?
Truly. We actually, one of the things they like to do is they pass these non-binding resolutions, which for us, it's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they're non-binding. They don't actually do anything. We have to spend a lot of time and resources fighting them. But on the other hand, it creates a voting record where on the city council level, there's not always a Second Amendment voting record. So we do pay attention to them, but we always have to figure out how best to, use our resources. But what happens is, there are 18 cities in San Diego, 18 city councils and a county board. So that's 19 boards where if a bad idea, takes hold in one, it spreads to the other 18.
Yeah, and then they get to say, well, hold on a second. If you're the 17th out of the 18th to vote on this, or the 18th out of the 18th,
Right.
You're the only one not willing to do something about these terrible guns.
Right.
And so it almost creates a stampede effect. And what they do is they use those honorary resolutions,
Right.
symbolic resolutions, to go to then policymakers in Washington and in Sacramento and get real laws passed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, again, when you're trying to preserve something, when you're trying to protect something like your natural rights, like your Second Amendment rights, it's really difficult to move forward with some kind of tangible plan, because you are constantly having to make sure that bad things don't happen. It kind of reminds me, after 9/11, they kept saying, "Hey, we have to stop every single attack. They just have to get through once."
Right. Right.
And that's how it feels with the Second Amendment in California. We have to be perfect. We have to stop every single attack. And it happens over and over.
And you're doing a great job of it here in San Diego. You've got meetups once a month throughout the county. These are really fun events. How do people get an invite to your San Diego County gun owner meetups? Because you have one in each part of the region.
We do. We move it's the same agenda. We have 4 a month. It's the same agenda. We move the meeting around so that it's easy for people to get to. We have one in South County in Chula Vista. We have one in East or Central County. We have one in North County. And then we actually have a Fallbrook specific one, because Fallbrook has embraced our organization so much.
Yeah.
Best thing to do is go to our website. We post up the locations and time and date every month. San Diego County Gunowners.com. We have it up on the homepage. Sign up for our email list and become a member and get involved.
And of course, you have your annual event, which is Gun Prom. It's a Second Amendment dinner, but it's known as Gun Prom, and that's in the spring every year. So when are you going to announce your date for that? And
we're going to announce it in January. We're most likely going to be back. We are going to be back at Town and Country in Mission Valley.
We had a fun time there.
Yeah, hundreds of people. We had about 600 people last year. I'm thinking we're probably going to get about 800 this year.
But you're not going to go back to the Del Mar Fairgrounds for your banquet?
No.
No, apparently if you have anything to do with guns, you're not welcome. Or if they do let you, you don't want to give them their money because they discriminate.
You definitely don't want to give them their money. However, we are very happy that there is a gun show at the end of September, the last weekend of September, and in December. So we're very, very happy about that. But it's too bad what's going on there.
All right. So get the website again so that people know where to go to join San Diego County Gun Owners.
San Diego County Gunowners.com.
All right. And I know that you're branching off into other parts of the state, Riverside, Orange County.
Yep.
My goal is to help you guys continue to not only grow locally, but if we can get a county gun owners group going in every part of the state, that can be a political force to be reckoned with. I've always said this, and I mean it. Your organization is the fastest growing, most effective political organization in San Diego. You're very focused on the issue agenda. You actually are willing to work with Democrats, but obviously
we're eager to work with Democrats.
Given the issue, it's sometimes hard, but right now it's hard because they don't see the political benefit in at least seeing both sides of this issue. But I think you're starting to even make inroads there.
We definitely are. There are a number of Democrats who they're super quiet because they need cover. If they pop their head up and happen to mention that they value your natural rights, they get clobbered by too many people. So our idea is, hey, let's give them cover. Let's make sure that they're welcomed and supported.
All right. Michael, thank you so much. And we're about to begin the event, so we'll see what everyone else thinks about the Let's Roll plan. We're also taking people's feedback after the podcast at carl@carldemaio.com or just carldemaio.com on the website.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl.
Always love working with Michael Schwartz. He does such a great job. That does it for us on this episode of the Carl DeMaio Show. And if you would like to spread the word to your friends to subscribe on their favorite app platform, their podcast platform, as well as they can listen on demand at carldemaio.com or DeMaioShow.com. We'll pick it up next time on the Carl DeMaio Show. This podcast was paid for by Carl DeMaio for Congress. I'm Carl DeMaio, and I proved this message.